Our next guest, Sharon Lechter, is the author of this book, Think and Grow Rich for Women, and she's a Hall of Famer in just every aspect of financial literacy. I'm just over the moon that she is here. She's an entrepreneur, international speaker, best-selling author, mentor, philanthropist, licensed CPA, and chartered global management accountant. Sharon is a premier expert in financial literacy and entrepreneurial success. In 1997, Sharon co-authored the international bestseller, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I don't know, millions and millions and millions of books have been sold. She has released 14 other books in the Rich Dad series. Over 10 years as the co-founder and CEO, she's built an empire into the world's leading personal brand. Sharon is here to really just share with us her wisdom, her vision, and what she's just really up to, and then really her challenges and victories throughout her career. So I'm honored. I'm super excited. I'm going to pull up my chair, and I'm just going to listen. Sharon, welcome.
Thank you, Walter. I'm so excited. This is such an incredible day. And now is the time for women to stand in their own power. And the information you've been hearing today is going to help you do that. You know, when it comes to money, we're either a master of our money or a slave to it. And I'm not going to ask you to tell me which one. But every step in the right direction can help you create a financial future of freedom. And that's what today is all about. To give you that one thing that you can do to make tomorrow better than today. Now, we've heard a lot of things today about relationships and divorces and things that have happened to us. And yes, the stats are we kind of know that. Women tend to go into poverty more than men after a divorce. Women tend to, at the age of 80, are more likely to be in poverty than men. We have to make those changes. But let's talk about the good news. As women, we already make 85% of all consumer decisions in our household, and we probably influence the other 15%. We already control 60% of all personal wealth in the United States. Pretty good. But with that comes a responsibility for us to understand how to keep it, how to invest it, and how to grow it. But most of the time, we think we have to do that on our own. And that's why these programs are so important, because you don't need to do it by yourself. You have people ready, standing there to support you and help you create the life that you deserve. Now, we've talked about a lot of outside influences. I want to talk about what's right here. Because you may already have wealth, but are you confident in that wealth? So let's go back and think about, what did your parents say about money when you were growing up? Money doesn't grow on trees. Pinch your pennies. Save for a rainy day. What do all those have in common? They're negative. So as children, we grow up hearing money negative, money negative, money negative. No wonder we end up creating this mindset of scarcity, afraid we're never going to have enough money. Now, as an adult, if we can start recognizing that, where it came from, we can release it and go from a mindset of scarcity to a mindset of abundance. Because even if you have a lot of money, if your mindset is one of scarcity, there's going to be this underlying fear that you're going to lose it. And certainly with what's happened in the world in the last few months, fear is all around us. Fear of death, fear of economic collapse, fear of poverty, fear of isolation. And what happens when we're fearful? Fear either paralyzes us or motivates us. But far too many of us are paralyzed in that fear. We want to crawl in the bed, pull the covers over our head, turn off the lights, and just hope it goes away. But don't be paralyzed by fear. Use that fear to motivate you into action, to focus on what you can do to create a better tomorrow. Because don't wait for a white knight. Be your own white knight. In the last few weeks, I keep hearing, I see light at the end of the tunnel. Forget that. That means you're waiting for the light. Become the beacon of light in your own life by taking control of who you are, what you stand for, and your financial future. Women are better investors than men. We just don't do it as much. So if we can start getting ourselves into the investor's role, we'll be so much stronger. We already hold more than half the managerial positions in corporate America. We now have more than half college graduations are women. So we have the choice to empower ourselves. You heard the prior speaker talk about choices. Every one of us is where we are today because of the choices we made before today. If you want something different in your life, you simply need to start making different choices. But as women, I'm going to task you right now. Think of the two or three one words that will describe who you are. I do this exercise in all my seminars. Jot them down. And I'm going to tell you, less than 2% of you will write your own name. Because as women, when I did this exercise, I wrote wife, mother, grandmother, writer, entrepreneur. I was so proud of myself. I had a lot of things listed. I did not write Sharon. And so as women, we tend to judge ourselves through the eyes of others. We judge ourselves through the roles we play. And I have been teaching myself, and I am not there yet, I'm still doing it every day, that if I'm a better Sharon, then I become a better mother, grandmother, entrepreneur, writer, investor. Take care of ourselves. It's the old put the oxygen mask on your face first. But every step of the way, we can do it together. Join a women's investment group. Have an advisor. When I left Rich Dad, I learned that sometimes you have to close a door for other doors of opportunity to open. And so I challenge you. I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought Rich Dad was my legacy. But a few short months later, I got the call from President Bush asking to be on the first President's Advisory Council for Financial Literacy. And don't worry, I served Bush and Obama, so equal opportunity. But it was so important, an unbelievable gift to me. I wouldn't have had that call had I still been at Rich Dad. A few months later, I got the call from the Napoleon Hill Foundation asking me to step in and help reinvigorate the teachings of Napoleon Hill during the 2008 financial crisis. I wouldn't have had that phone call had I still been at Rich Dad. So I challenge you and I ask you, is there a door in your life that needs to close so other doors of opportunity will open for you? It may be a relationship, it may be a business, it may be a hobby, something that's holding you back. When you can release it, you can free up that time. And so many of us are so worried about our children, our family. We have this thing called work-life balance. I wrote Think and Grow Rich for Women for two reasons. One, I wanted to change the dialogue from complaining and criticizing the men that stand in our way to celebrating the progress women have made and celebrating the men who have helped us along the way. That old law of attraction thing, instead of complaining and criticizing, what do you think we attract when we do that? Nothing good. So let's celebrate the progress we've made. Is there more to do? Of course. But let's celebrate how far we've come. And let's highlight and celebrate the men who have supported us. And by doing that, we're going to see more progress more quickly and have much happier lives. The second reason I wrote that book is this concept of work-life balance. It does not exist. Balance is a term that it belongs in the yoga studio. particularly as women. We have work, we have children, we have spouse, relationships, community, our spiritual life, our physical life, our financial life. All of those work together to create one big life, which is the last chapter in the book. Because what happens is when you worry today about work-life balance, and I bet some of you right now are looking at your to-do list and worrying about work-life balance, forget about it, because you're wasting precious time today worrying about something yesterday. Stop it. Now, I happen to be the queen of worry, but I want to share a definition with you. And this one, I challenge you to write it down. To worry is to pray for what you do not want. Let me repeat that. To worry is to pray for what you do not want. And so when you are worrying, you're wasting precious time today and attracting negative results. So now I happen to be a champion worrier, so I still get my little worry storms, and I stop myself. And I go, okay, Sharon, stop focusing on what I don't want and recalibrate my brain and focus on what I do want to have happen. And it's magical because you're focusing on positive outcomes. Same issue in money. Finding the right advisors, finding the right people to support you and help you will give you positive results. Surrounding yourself with people who want you to succeed. In 3 Feet from Gold, my first book with the Napoleon Hill Foundation, we shared the personal success equation. It's combining your passion and your talent. You've heard a lot about that today, right? That's what school teaches you, is what you learn. My passion was actually from anger because we weren't teaching kids about money. My talent was as an accountant on lots of publishing. But most of us, especially women, stop there. We think we have to do things all by ourselves. But the success equation, the next one is times A, power of association. Who's on your team? Do you have people who are strong where you are weak? There are tons of people behind the scenes here who are making this day happen. All right? Power of association. Do you have a mentor? Do you have a financial advisor that's helping you along the way? The power of a mentor, it can never be understated. A few weeks ago, I heard the quote, smart people learn from their mistakes. It's a good thing. Geniuses learn from other people's mistakes. I love that. I just love that quote. But a mentor helps you speed your way to success by steering you around pitfalls and accelerating the opportunities, opening the door, opening the Rolodex, using their wisdom to give you a pathway to accelerate your success and accelerate your growth. Do not be afraid to ask for help. I go, when someone asks me for help, I see it as a sign of respect. And so change your thought. I'm not asking for help. I'm showing my respect for what they know and asking for their advice. Because going alone is a really lonely, slow road. Your passion, your talent, that power of association, and then take action. Now, you've heard a lot of things today, a lot of aspects of your life, your estate planning, your relationships, right? All those things are so important. But something is going to speak louder for you. But it's only going to help you if you put it into action and take action. And then the last element of the personal success equation is an F called faith. Faith in yourself. Faith in you are perfect just the way you are. Faith that what you're doing is needed and necessary. Faith that you will succeed. And when I work with women, it's usually that power of association and that self-confidence that we have to work on the most. And when it comes to money, it's doubly important because they're fearful about money. But I love it. I want to share my favorite word on earth, assets. Say it with me, assets. Because that is the defining difference between people of wealth and people without wealth. No matter where they live in the world, no matter what language they speak, wealthy people around the globe have one thing in common. They have income-producing assets. Whether it be businesses, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, intellectual property, real estate, those are assets. And assets are sexy. At the end of the day, that's what you want to strive for. And the older we get, I think I'm the grandmother on this show today, the sexier our financial assets become. Your future depends on creating a foundation of income-producing assets. Now, we're taught in school to exchange time for money, to become an employee, to become self-employed, right? You exchanging time for money. Oh, there's only so many days in the week, so many hours in the day. You get tired. True wealth comes from building businesses and investments that become your economic engines, where you are investing your time to buy, build, or create assets. And that's where the future is for you. That is what you want to look for, to have that support that is given to you today to create the future that you deserve. Assets are yours, and they work for you while you sleep. So if you end up having an illness or something that stops you in your tracks in your life, your assets are still working for you. Now, I had an incredible career. I've been really, really blessed. I started with nothing, middle class home, but I grew up in an entrepreneurial house. So I grew up in an environment, living in a little house between my mother's beauty shop and my dad's car lot, and had to go scrub out bathrooms in our rental properties between tenants. I swore I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to become a sophisticated professional, which I did. Went to Atlanta, and at about the ripe old age of 25, I was fast tracking through the firm. And I thought, wow, I'm working 100 hours a week for someone else. So I'm not a very good employee. That was when I decided to start my entrepreneurial career. And I've never looked back, because you have the opportunity to build something. But when I made that decision to leave public accounting, I had an offer from a client, and I still remember doing this little yellow legal pad, pros and cons, right? It didn't help me a bit, because I could argue both sides. But my hand kind of took off across the top of the page and said, why not? Why not has become my personal mantra. Why not do something different? Why not go the path less traveled? Why not take control of your own financial future? Why not seek advice? And the only reason not is if it's illegal, right? Why not find that help that can support you to the next step? Realize they have a lot more experience that they bring to the table that can help you create the wealth that you deserve. So why aren't you moving? Why not take this opportunity? Right now, the world is in a total global reset. People who are taking action right now to secure themselves, to create businesses. Businesses solve a problem or serve a need. We have a lot of both right now. Take control of your life and start adding value to other people's lives. As a little girl, my dad would ask me each night, Sharon, have you added value to someone's life today? He's been gone for 14 years, but I still ask myself that every night. Wouldn't the world be a better place if we all thought about adding value to other people's lives? Now, you ask, why do I still do this? A lot of people ask me that. And about 7.5 years ago, I was riding high in my career, been playing big, and I've been financially free since I was 38, and I'm not that anymore, 66. But about 7.5 years ago, I lost my youngest son. So I understand when things stop you in your track. I was numb for about 3 years, like being in neutral. And so something may have been in your life that stopped you in your track. Maybe it's a divorce, a death, an illness, bankruptcy. But you're still here for a reason. I actually thought about retiring and got a lot of pushback from my family and friends. And I think I even heard my son say, "Mom, get over it. There's more for you to do." And you know what? There's more for you to do. Every one of you is an expert. Nobody's had your successes. Nobody's had your learning opportunities. And there are people out there who can benefit from what you know. And so think about how you can add value to other people's lives. And then create an asset around it. Write a book. All right? Reinvest your dollars. Get the advice from someone. It's not what you do for your paycheck that counts. It's what you do with your paycheck that determines your financial future. And if you have the right person on your side, you're going to be able to get there a lot quicker. But every step of the way is your choice to make. And as a grandmother, I love my kids, but I love my grandkids even more. What are you doing to help your children or your grandchildren prepare for the future? Because we're still not teaching them about money in school. I'm pushing on that. I'm getting the laws changed in Arizona and other areas, but we're still a long way from where we need to be. So as an interested adult, parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle, if you have young people in your life, teach them about money. Let them start investing in some of their favorite stocks. Talk to them about the financial world around them. Open their eyes to the financial world. They will be leagues ahead of their friends. It's so important that we do this to make sure our children have the future that they deserve. But at the end of the day, it comes back to us. As women, we are the heart of the family. We control 85% of consumer decisions, and I know the other 15% are probably in your control too. Take control of your own education. Seek someone to help you learn about money, how to buy, build, and create assets. Remember, assets are sexy. Just keep telling yourself that. Focus on money, assets that become economic engines to support you. Whether it be stocks, bonds, mutual funds, rental real estate, businesses, intellectual property, collectibles, right? Start focusing on that. Instead of buying the next product, buy the asset whose cash flow buys the purse for you, all right? Start changing the way you think. A lot of people say live below your means. I would rather expand my means to live the life I want. That's the world of abundance. And yes, our economy is hurting right now. But it's the people that step up to the plate right now and start solving those problems and serving those needs who will be the success stories we'll be writing about next year. So I challenge you. How are you going to take control of your financial life right now and be on top of the wave instead of under the wave? Because at the end of the day, you are your own white knight. You are the beacon of light for yourself, your community, your children. And it's our responsibility. All this 60% of U.S. wealth that we already control, we own more stocks than men. It's our responsibility. Now, 40% of households, women are the primary breadwinners. So things have changed from a family dynamic perspective. And the last bit of good news I want to leave you with is if you're a working mom, feeling stressed out about being a working mom, Harvard has just released a study that shows your children are better prepared for the future. Your sons will be greater fathers and greater husbands. Your daughters will have more supervisory positions. They will make more money than children of stay-at-home moms. And believe me, I love stay-at-home moms, but I don't want you to have that guilt about being a working mom. Pay attention to how you invest your money and how you educate your children. Take control of your environment. In this world full of fear, Pay attention to your environment. Turn the news off. All right? Focus on positive things. Have positive energy around you. And control how you spend your time. Because that's the only precious resource we have. You can make money and lose money and make it back. But you can't get your time back. So don't lose precious time today worrying about yesterday. Have the goal to live one big life and go out there and start focusing on assets, sexy assets for yourself and your family. And by doing so, with the right advice, the right support, you'll create generational wealth. Thank you.
Wow, that's incredible. Took a lot of notes. We're going to take a quick pause, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to ask Sharon some questions, and we're going to sit together. So we'll be back in a few minutes. Well, I needed to take the opportunity to really sit with Sharon. I wrote just really lots of notes and ideas. I have studied financial literacy for 20 years. I've taught for 20 years, and I'm always amazed at when I'm in the midst of a master and the way that Sharon articulates concepts. Sharon, thank you for being here and sharing your wisdom. Couple things, not in any particular order, but given that we're going to do the last section on youth and money, kids especially, you talk about time for money, the treadmill of time for money and how assets are sexy. I absolutely love that. But as we talked about during the break, what happens when you have a lot of assets and you're not happy?
Well, money doesn't buy happiness, but you can be rich or poor. It's a lot easier to be happy when you're rich than when you're poor. But that's not where happiness comes from. So, people ask me about the definition of success, and I go, it's really not the amount of money you have in your bank account. It's how you feel about yourself when you look in the mirror. And it has nothing to do with your reflection. So happiness goes along with really fulfillment. So do you feel fulfilled? Do you feel like you're contributing to society, to your children, to your family, to your community? That fulfillment is what gives you happiness. When we're talking about children and money, and one of the biggest things today, they talk about entitlement, particularly in affluent families, is it's so important to make sure you give your children the opportunity to set a goal, achieve it, and then celebrate it, because that's how they build their self-confidence. If they want something and it comes easy, they're never going to be able to build that goal setting, that self-confidence that comes with it. So it's so important. When you have a lot of money, you have a lot of opportunity to spoil your kids. But make sure you give them the opportunity to get excited about life. Be curious. Instead of saying we can't afford it, ask your child, how can I afford it? And you will be amazed at how creative they can become. And so yes, a lot of us have money today but didn't have it when we grew up, and so we want to give our kids everything. And that's not the good path. Make sure you have them have opportunities to earn money, have opportunities to set goals and achieve them, and you're going to see kids who really understand the value of the money.
I love that. Give me that again. Achieve it, celebrate it. Give me those things.
Allow your child to set a goal and let them think about the goal. Don't tell them what the goal is. Let them set the goal with you, achieve it, then celebrate it, and you're going to watch their self-confidence rise in the process.
I think many parents along the way watch their kids struggle and rush in to save them, and they're really doing them a disservice. So I love that, love that, love that.
I call it the great science project. When you go in fourth grade, when your kids have science projects, you walk in and you know which ones the parents did, right? And guilty as charged sometimes, but you think your kid is so proud and excited that mom and dad helped them get it done. When in reality, initially they didn't think I could do it on my own. And then maybe they move to the next level. Why bother? They'll get it done for me. So it's a distance. We need to be mentors to our children, not enablers. big step in the right direction.
Yeah, big difference. Now, you are a master, I mean an absolute master at partnership and leverage. You talked a little bit about it in your talk, but I'd really like for you to expand on that, because I've watched many videos, I've spent time with you. Talk about that and how that has accelerated you in what it is that is your vision.
Well, thank you for that question. It's one of our superpowers when we mentor people, understanding that speed to market is very important today. And so if you can find someone who has the resources to support you, you get much quicker success. And so, for instance, when I started the talking book industry for children with The Inventor back in 1987, the books that had the little sound strips down the side. And so back then, believe it or not, there was no Amazon, no internet. Kids didn't have screens. They had no electronics, dinosaur days. So we said, well, we can't get parents to trust us because they don't know who we are. So we aligned with Disney, Warner Brothers, Sesame Street, Marvel Comics, and immediately the trust factor was there because they trusted those brands. And so I learned very early the importance of that power of association. When I was building the Rich Dad empire around the world, I knew we'd be much more successful if we partnered with Time Warner Books, Time Life on infomercials. And so every one of you have the opportunity to have that power of association and combine with somebody. Being with you today is the power of association. 1 + 1's 11, not 2. And it's so important, particularly in the world we are today, where speed to market is so important. Companies that used to be competitors are now collaborators, and it serves a greater good.
Wow, I have not heard that. 1 + 1 is 11. That's phenomenal. Okay, so there's been nuggets after nuggets after nuggets all throughout tonight's program. You went back into the archives. You are a big fan of Napoleon Hill's. Talk about, because so many people want something, but they are unwilling to do what it takes. You brought this book back, Outwitting the Devil. Kind of talk about this book and why you did that and what you see here.
Well, thank you for that. Yes. My second book with the Napoleon Hill Foundation is Outwitting the Devil. And the month we released 3 Feet from Goal, which is the one I talked to you about, the personal success equation, I got a call from the foundation and they said, Sharon, we have this manuscript. We don't know what to do with it. It was locked in the vault for 73 years. Now, you are probably aware of Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich, and that book came out in 1937. It was a 25-year initiative of Napoleon Hill's. Andrew Carnegie charged him with introducing him to all his rich friends around the world, all of them men at the time, and said, we all have things in common. And so he went on this 25-year journey, researching success from the 500 richest men and thousands of people who considered themselves failures. As a result, he came with the book Think and Grow Rich. He released it in 1937, and when he released it, he was frustrated because he said, here I have this doctoral thesis of success, and yet people will read it, they will know what to do, but they won't do it. Anybody feel busted? Yeah, so many times we know what we're supposed to do, but we just don't do it. And so in a few short months, he wrote Outwitting the Devil. He would have used the word downloaded if it existed back then, but it didn't. And so the title scared his wife to death. She worked for the Presbyterian College and she forbid it to be published, and so it was locked away. Now, Napoleon Hill died in 1970, she died in 1984. Her sister died in about 2010, and that's when the book came to the foundation. And so I had the incredible honor of being the 4th or 5th person to read it. I ran over to San Diego where I do most of my writing, and here's this manuscript that's typed on a typewriter, old typewriter, with handwritten notes from Napoleon Hill. It was incredible. But in a couple of hours, it totally changed my outlook on life, and I knew it had to get out. Because in it, he talks about the debilitating fear of poverty, fear of ill health, fear of old age, fear of criticism, fear of success. And so, but he takes on every taboo there exists. sex, politics, religion, education, alcohol, cigarettes, even before anybody said cigarettes were bad for you. And in it, he talks, it's an interrogation of the devil. And he says, you can determine if the devil is real or imaginary. Will you derive any benefit? And in it, the devil says, I grab hold of people who don't think for themselves. Drifters. 98% of the world, drifters, the ones who just kind of go with the flow, whatever. Anybody come in mind in your life, in your circle? Go with the flow, whatever. Or the 2% that are non-drifters, that take control of their lives. They know what they want. They control their environment. They control who they hang out with. They control their time. They learn from their mistakes. And that's one of the things a lot of people, particularly women, we make a mistake and we think it defines us. It's like we carry around an old sack of potatoes with us. Mistakes are there to learn from. They don't define us, they're an occurrence. And so Outwitting the Devil, I thought was for the time back when we released it in 2011. No, I think it was written for today, because he talks about the fear of death and the fear of poverty as being his two biggest tools. And certainly that's pervasive in our society today. If you know someone who's struggling, who can't find their center, who can't find that purpose in their life, giving them Outwitting the Devil may be the greatest gift ever for them. So,
you talk about your event and I of December 2012, and I think I was incredibly moved when I was at your house and you shared about the death of your son and kind of where you went with that. I know that so many people that are gonna watch this have that type of event, either a catastrophic mistake, a death, I know in my world I shared very early on, I lost my firm to stupidity. Mm-hmm. And there's so much shame and that, like, how can you recover from that? Walk us through, how to recover from the seemingly unrecoverable event.
Well, thank you for that question. We are not supposed to outlive our children. But if you also had something like a death in your family, a death in your life, an illness, a bankruptcy, it stops you in your tracks. And as I said, I put my life in neutral. I don't think you ever recover from it, but you realize that you're still here. You're here for a reason. And you allow yourself to grieve, but then you allow yourself to understand. When I started playing big again, because I made that decision not to retire, so I launched the Play Big movement on Facebook. And when I made that decision, it was amazing the opportunities that came to me. But I wasn't allowing myself to see them because I had blinders on. So how many of you are living life with blinders because of something that's happened to you? But then it still took me another couple of years before I could share it. And when I started sharing it, oh my gosh, the number of people whose lives opened, who felt more like they could relate to me, and then give them the opportunity to say, if that happened to her and she's still out there, maybe I should be out there again. And that's the biggest thing. You are still here for a reason. Other people can benefit from what you've survived. You can be that person that becomes a hand up to someone else. And that's, my mission in life today is to support people finding that next great chapter in their life, finding ways, becoming that beacon of light, not waiting for the light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, Sharon, thank you for your participation. I know, and just for the record, Sharon is really not behind the scenes, front of the scenes, and changing how financial literacy happens inside of our schools. And so she's the champion and leader of that cause. As an educator for 20 years at the university level that teaches families that have already come into wealth, the question they always say is, I wish I would have had this early. Mm-hmm. And right before us, Sharon Lechter is the champion of of that cause to try to get that done, which is, unfortunately, has not been easy. So Sharon, thank you. So blessed that you are here. We're going to take a quick break, and then we will wrap up with our last speaker.
Thank you.